Hi, hello, good morning, my young officers. Welcome to this regular series of current topics and news for UPSC Prelims 2022. So, this is Nisha Nujumudeen, your educator at Unacademy, an expert in Indian economy, current affairs, and MCQs. So, here we are today with an interesting topic in the so-called regular 6 a.m. early morning class under the series called as Current Topics in News. So, today I have chosen the topic from the area polity, and the topic is Election Commission of India. So do you really think, is it fair and transparent as it really appears? So there are a lot of issues, multiple issues that is revolving around the so-called ECI, that is Election Commission of India. So taking into consideration multiple perspectives of this particular topic, let's quickly have a look into what it is all about. Take care. And now, as far as this particular topic is concerned, it's very, very important for all of us to know whether this so-called Election Commission of India, which revolves with regard to their governance, the choosing of government and every other perspective, is it really fair and transparent as it really appears? Or do you think there should be a more requirement of transparency into it? Or do you think that is the Election Commission of India requires a little more freedom? Or do you think it should be a little more liberal? So you got to understand what is Election Commission of India, what is the MCC, that is Model Code of Conduct. It has been implemented effectively. What are the other perspectives of the ECI as per the various articles put forward in your constitution? And also, currently, what are the most important issues associated with the so-called topic, that is Election Commission of India, which makes all of us think, come on, does it really needs more transparency, or does it really need to be more fair and transparent? And do you think what has been shown to us today in the context of this ECI has some credibility? So multiple questions like this pop into your brain. So you'll get answers to all these things by having a quick look into this amazing topic of discussion. So this is a very, very sensitive and a controversial topic which all of you should keep in mind. Clear? Perfect. So that's a warm good morning to all of you. I hope that you really love this topic. At the same time, guys, a look into the Election Commission of India from the static plus the hit list current affairs topic perspective will be discussed in today's class. So once the session has been done, you'll be able to express your own viewpoints with regard to this particular topic, that is Election Commission of India, in a crystal clear manner. So towards the end of the class, you should be able to tell me, is it really fair and transparent as it appears? Or what should be done to ensure more transparency or to make it more, credible or more reliable? You understand? So that is the whole notion with regard to this particular class. So as you all know, guys, I'm one of Unacademy's Plus educator, handling a lot of Plus courses like NCERT batch courses, then comprehensive economy classes of economy, at the same time various MCQ courses and all. You can just go through my profile as well. It's put over here, guys. I'm also an assistant professor at Hindustan University, an economist of Government of India, and I've mentored 15 lakh plus students across India. And I've taught 90 plus GS batches with an experience of 7 years in the field of teaching. So you can just go through all those stuffs and all. Clear? Yes, Soham, good morning. So here we go. The Election Commission of India, indeed, the hot topic of discussion. है ना? The Bharat Nivacharan Ayog. है ना? Yes, Soham. Yeah, I'm feeling better, a little better today. My health is a little fine. Thank you so much, learners, for all your wishes and prayers and all. I'm a little better. So now the regular schedule of my classes, guys. Can you see a link that is pinned up in the chat box? Click on that link. So now that will take you to this Unacademy profile of mine. Click the follow button for all the updates of my free class as well as plus class. That is a paid class. Take care. So now when the clock strikes 6 a.m. in the morning, come for this current topics in news in the YouTube classes to really have a clear-cut understanding of what to study and what not to study based on various controversial and sensitive topics out there, both from the static and the current affairs perspective, exclusively with regard to the UPSC Prelims, Mains and Interview examination perspective, the topics will be discussed. And now when the clock strikes 6 p.m. in the evening, after finishing all your works, come back to the Unacademy platform, guys. Download the app, follow me there under UPSC category and use the code Nisha IAS Live to attend these free classes to unlock the free content and make sure that you are attending UPSC level MCQs with a 360-degree coverage. So this is a regular series that happens every now and then. So be it free class or plus class, let me tell you something. The code is the same. Nisha IAS Live. Clear? So you can just go through, guys. Coming Sunday, you have an Unacademy Compact happening. It's a free test series happening across India. Download the app in your phone, take this test, and this time it is not scholarship. This time you're getting prizes, in the context of the Apple gadgets. You can have get an iPhone, a MacBook, iPad mini, which can be useful for your studies as well. Take care. So there are multiple Amazon vouchers available if you're in the top, 500 positions. And apart from that, in the paid platform, you can just go through all the details. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whichever year subscription you go, there is an extra 3 months offer going on for you people, where you need to pay only very less amount for 1 year, just 63,000 rupees with the code Nisha IAS Live. So not just for the discounts, my young officers, but for the personal mentoring program as well. This will help you a lot. Clear? And to be a part of the next UPSC CSE toppers, and that too from Unacademy. These people can do that, what you can see in the slide, why not the others? And there are exclusively structured batches. Make sure that you're making the right opportunity. If you cannot go for the full amount, it is okay. Go for the loan amount. And there also the code can be used and you can enjoy multiple benefits out there. Clear? Perfect. So yes, here we go, my young officers. Let's quickly have a look into the topic of discussion. Take care. So before that, it's always important for you to have a quick look, or let's say to start your day with an amazing motivational quote. Don't you think so? Yes, very important. So here we have an amazing motivational quote of the day for you people to start your day. Words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only action truly brings you closer to your dreams. So the words of inspiration to become an IAS officer and the thoughts, all these things can inspire, can provoke you. But the moment you start putting your heart and soul and try and start preparing, like how you come for the early morning class, because early bird catches the worm. I've told you this before. So that is a time that is directing you to very closely towards your dream of becoming the so-called IAS officer. Don't you think so? Yeah. So do keep this in mind, guys. And these early morning classes are a kind of action which truly brings you closer to your dreams, because you are taking every single effort for your preparation. So good morning and a happy morning, all of you. So I hope this day will make it all proper and right for you in your life. Okay? So those who have missed the previous sessions or series, in the description box of this particular video, you can see a playlist link. You can just go through. So since Jan 10, 2022, we have been running these courses under multiple topics and subjects. You can just have a look into all the beautiful topics that we've discussed, guys, starting from MPC, the legal age of marriage, digital public goods, blockchain, carbon neutrality, income inequality of our country, India, then the 2+2 ministerial dialogue for India, Australia, then the GST, which is an unfinished agenda. Then today we are dealing with the Election Commission. Clear? So you can just go through all those. So yes, all ready, my young officers, to have a quick look into this amazing topic of the day? Yes or no? You should be indeed very much ready, hai na? Yeah, that's indeed more and more important. Perfect. So here we go, guys. From the subject area Indian polity, we have an interesting topic of the day. As I told you, the Election Commission of India. Is it really fair and transparent as it appears? So now, ensuring transparency in Election Commission is something that is revolving, these days. A hot topic of discussion that is revolving these days was based on this topic. So now this is actually questioning the credibility of the government, the credibility of the electoral commissions, and also the constitution as a whole, right? Somewhere or the other, we can see the bitterness of questioning these, important perspective as a whole. So let's have a quick look into this in a very, very diplomatic and a very, very balanced manner. So that is how the UPSC candidate has to approach a topic. So now the reason why you study this particular topic is the context is, if you see, the Election Commission of India. Basically, it is a creation of our constitution. We all know that. And that is why today we have a government, we have election held, we have the people voting and stuffs like that. Hadn't we never had Election Commission of India, all these things would not have been possible in the right manner. So now, in spite of having all this, there are few loopholes and few corruptions to be really looked into, and we need to solve it as a whole, right? To make the functioning of our country's governance more, trustworthy as a whole. So now, the Election Commission of India, which is the creation of the Indian Constitution, guys, if you see, According to Article 324, what does it tell us? It tells that the superintendents, the direction and control of all the elections of parliament, including the state legislatures and office of president and vice president, all these things, sub kuch, it will be vested where? In the ECI, Election Commission of India. And now why this topic is because having understood the importance of Election Commission of India, guys, recently in a letter to the president of our country, what happened was like a group of retired bureaucrats, that is the people, the IAS people, officers and all, and the other government officials, like you people are aspiring to become IAS officers, right? So now a group of retired bureaucrats, take care, what did they do? They, along with some diplomats, in the context of the recent incidents, they started expressing their various concerns regarding the credibility, or let's say authenticity, or let's say the transparency of the so-called election commission. They said, come on, to the president of India, they all said that these are not common people, they are people who are serving the government. So now, having understood that and having taken into consideration their so-called respective positions, this was taken in a very serious note, because they said that in the letter to president, all these retired bureaucrats and diplomats, the so-called Election Commission of India, keeping in mind the recent happenings, it is a weak need conduct. And the institution is suffering from a crisis of credibility today. Where is the credibility of the so-called Election Commission of India? So now when the credibility of Election Commission has been questioned, what is happening, guys? The next question is, the government that is ruling us, or the government that has been elected, do you think there is a credibility? Is it in a fair means that the election has been conducted? So multiple things comes to your brain. So actually the authenticity of the ruling government, or let's say any other, whenever the election is happening, it becomes very big question mark. So when we vote, or when we cast an electoral vote, what is happening? So as a normal citizen, all these thoughts comes to your brain. Don't you think so? And that's why it makes this particular topic a very, very sensitive and a controversial one. Did you understand? This is the reason why you're studying this particular topic. I think early morning 6 a.m. your brains are so fresh to capture such kind of interesting topic and to start your day fresh. Am I right? Indeed, it should be like that. Hannah? Yes, guys? Perfect. So now only I can see people coming. Yes, Rishabh, good morning. Where are the others? So 2 days I didn't catch. I think one day we didn't have a class, right? On Tuesday we didn't have. Monday and Tuesday we didn't have. So people thought that where did ma'am vanish? Yes, Vivek, I was all here only. My health is a little sick, guys. I was unable to talk actually. That is the thing. But I took the 6 p.m. class yesterday, but I'm a little fine now. So when the clock strikes 6 a.m., fatafat you come and sit for the class, for the YouTube. Clear? Perfect. So let's quickly have a look into the credibility or the authenticity of this particular topic. So now, this election commission, guys, having understood the scenario, it is seen as unlimited and unconditional in the matter of what? Holding elections. We all know that. But though that is the case, there are so many issues and ambiguous provisions, which is, or let's say the confusing provisions that is affecting the functioning of what? The Election Commission of India. Now, don't you all think so? Yes, Sadhana? Don't you all think so? This particular election commission is something which makes you think. And now those who say that, okay, the government is not proper, or the party is not proper, or let's say we need a change in the government, or we need that, we need this. Whichever government comes, the citizens will say that, no doubt in that. But then, it is adding more fuel to the fire. Don't you think so? Because when the election commission has been questioned, it is through them that we are casting vote, and that is how the results have been declared. And the so-called ruling party has been selected. So now multiple fire gets popped up into the hearts and brains of everybody when you question the Election Commission of India. So the ones who are really in the so-called ruling perspective, how could you even think of questioning the credibility of how we came? That is a big controversy out there. And the ones who are saying, come on, we have every single reason to question because of the recent incident that has happened. And this has come not from the common citizens again, from people who are already serving the government, which consists of a group of diplomats, retired bureaucrats as a whole. So this is why this particular topic is on fire today. Did you understand? Perfect. So now let's quickly have a look into what is Election Commission of India in detail, guys, because you need to understand the background of this. So a quick background understanding of this particular topic by having a look into the static portion of that also will enable you to have a clear-cut understanding of why today we are discussing about the Election Commission of India with regard to the question of transparency, with regard to the question of whether it is really free and fair and are the results proper. So multiple things like this are coming to our brain. Hannah? So let's quickly have a look into what is ECI of our country. So if you see, as I told you previously, it is a constitutional body. And now the whole point why you have the Election Commission is nothing but this has been put forward or envisaged to uphold the values of what? Various perspectives like equality. Second, equity. Third, impartiality. And fourth, independence, which is actually embedded or let's say enshrined in the Indian Constitution, guys, and the rule of law in superintendence, directions, control over the electoral governance. So the entire control of the electoral governance is vested in the hands of whom, guys? The so-called Election Commission of India. So now why was this put forward? So now when there are too many parties out there in our country, we need to make sure that there is a proper agency or organization which actually looks into all these things. Don't you think so? Yes. So now Election Commission of India is very important for that. But what is happening in the Election Commission of India is something which, really upsets us. Yes, Sadhana? Common people are still unaware regarding such matter. Yes, it's very true. That is why now the bureaucrats and diplomats have written a letter to the president questioning the authenticity of this or the credibility of this. You tell us the transparency. You tell us that it is free and fair. So for that particular topic, guys, you should understand, for that particular concept to be very much highlighted, what is Election Commission, the provisions, that, the subkuch and the issues. Then taking into consideration the reason why it has been established and now the issue is concerned, you'll be able to find a better way forward and the answer to the question of why this is happening like this and what can be done to overcome in the near future. Clear? Because that is what we need. So thus, in order to establish or let's say in order to conduct the elections, guys, with the highest standard of credibility, freeness, fairness, transparency, integrity, accountability, autonomy and professionalism, the Election Commission of India was put forward. Now you tell me, do you really think all these factors what I've told you, credibility, transparency, fairness, maybe professionalism could be there, accountability, are these things really there with the Election Commission of India? Is it really practically implemented, or somewhere or the other they're trying to show there is so-called transparency and freeness or fairness? But don't you think there should be, it should ensure more transparency, guys? Yes, it should. That is why these questions have popped up today. Hannah. So now, having understood this, guys, it's very, very important for us to understand that over the last years, so many acquisitions, so many problems, so many things have been faced by the Election Commission of India regarding what? The independence. Is the Election Commission of India fair and free? Can they take decisions on their own, or do they depend upon any whims and fancies of the concerned political parties or the governing parties or whatever it is? And are they partial to one particular party, or are they partial to one particular perspective based on the funding and other aspects? So now a lot of questions with regard to the independence of them, the functioning and also the impartiality in electoral governance. And the process with regard to appointment of the members is also questioned. It was said that even the people who are a part of the Election Commission of India has an inclination towards the concerned ruling party or the opposition party or whatever, where they take decisions in their favor. Because it is another term where the BJP government has come into place, right? So now multiple accusations are put on the Election Commission, guys, in that context. That is why today we are discussing this. Clear? Yes, Shanavas, yes, there should be more transparency. Obviously, there should be. But why? The question is, if you are saying more transparency, in one word we say transparency, but multiple people can question you. How can you even say that, more transparency should be there? In what context? So for that, the reasons, the causes, the issues have to be crystal clearly pointed out. So you'll be able to understand the depth of the topic and the solutions, what you can do to overcome them. Because that really makes the topic complete in analysis. Don't you think so? And that's what we're doing here. So thus, I can tell you that having understood this issue, perhaps I should tell you that a more transparent and independent method in appointment of the members of ECI is very important. And that is also free from a dominant participatory role of whom? The executive. That is what India requires, guys. See, what a country requires is what? We don't want any partiality. We don't want any sort of, any sort of recommendations over there. As far as the Election Commission of India is concerned, we need to make sure that the appointment of members of the ECI should be very, very fair and transparent and in a very, very independent manner. No other body should interfere at all. Clear? And that is what a country requires. Only then you can go for a better functioning of the, elections and other perspectives. Yes, Sadhana, it can't be unbiased since it has been appointed by the ruling government. See, you said ECI can't be unbiased, but what are we studying now? Whether it is really transparent. Because the issues of impartiality, which is biasness, the issues of, transparency, the issues of credibility is being questioned today. Without a reason, nobody is simply going to accuse you. Or if at all they accuse, they will not accuse the Election Commission of India as a whole, because that is very sensitive again, because that will put you in a lot of trouble. So without validating points and substantiated points, that cannot be done by any bureaucrats or diplomats out there. So keeping all these things, only they have done it. So now, the so-called, you said the ruling government has done, be the ruling government or the next government, whichever government, take care, whoever is supposed to be there, as far as ECI is concerned, it should be free of them. They have nothing to do with the function of ECI directly, because they're completely an independent stuff, free of what is free of all this political party stuff. But today they are saying it is not the case. That is why this particular topic is being discussed. Clear? Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. So yes, to talk more about the Nirvajan Sadhan, that is Election Commission of India. So what is ECI actually? It is an autonomous constitutional authority. Look at the keyword. These points are very, very useful for your prelims examination, guys. So please have a look into it. So basically, it is an autonomous constitutional authority, guys, responsible for what? Administering both the union and state election process in our country, India. So now, what do they do? This particular ECI, yes, Deva, good morning. This particular ECI, they administer the elections to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislative assemblies in India, and also to the office of the president and the vice president in the country. So this is actually what your ECI does, and this is what is ECI in a very, very simple term. Clear? Perfect. Now, let's quickly have a look into the background of this particular topic as well, because background understanding of this topic is also very important. So here we go. As per part, 78 of the Constitution, what does it tells us? It tells us that Indian Constitution deals with what? Indian Constitution deals with elections, and they establish a commission for these matters. And that commission is called as what? That particular commission is called as the Election Commission of India. And when was it established, guys? So way back on 25th Jan, a day before the Republic Day. Take care. In the year 1950, guys, the Election Commission was established in our country, and that too in accordance with the Constitution, I can tell you. And if you see Article 324 to 329 of the Constitution, it exclusively deals with what? Article 324 to 329. Please keep in mind, it deals with the powers, functions, tenure, eligibility, etc. of the so-called Election Commission of India and the member. How can, for example, the Chief Election Commission of India, what is the tenure of them? Is it 3 years, 5 years or so? What about the other responsibilities and functions? What about the other perspectives of Election Commission of India? All these things, your Article 324 to 329 of the Constitution discuss about. Clear? Yes, Vinny, 6 a.m. is hard. 2 to 3 on your brains. People used to come for 6 a.m. very well. I think a few of them didn't get the notifications. There are many, many regular learners. Hannah, Rishabh, and Deva and Soham, where are your regular classmates? Surendra is there, Ravi is there. Then somebody called Wolf Appraisal will come. I remember the IDs because these people, they come for 6 a.m. regularly. So those chaps are missing today. Some Kallatham is there. Tell them that I'll catch them soon. Hannah? Yes, Rishabh? Okay. So back to what I was telling you regarding the Election Commission of India. Okay. So thus the background of this, as I told you, Article 324 to 329, it deals with what? All these perspectives. So what is exactly 324 dealing with, guys? If you see Article 324, which is relating to the election perspectives, guys, it talks about the superintendent's direction and control of the elections to be vested in Election Commission. Whereas Article 325 means it is said that no person to be ineligible for inclusion. That is, you cannot discriminate a person not to be a part of it. You understand? So now, no person to be ineligible for inclusion in, or let's say to claim to be included in a special electoral roll on grounds of religion, caste, creed, color, sex and all. No sort of discrimination should happen in the context of ECI. And 326 article with regard to the election commission perspective, it deals with the elections of the House of People and the legislative assemblies of state. And they say that it should take place on the basis of something called as adult suffrage. Now tell me, what is adult suffrage, guys? Yes, what is adult suffrage? It's called as universal franchise. Universal franchise. Clear? You please note it because people will not know what is this. So adult suffrage is called as universal franchise, guys, and a common suffrage of the common man. Clear? It gives the right to all the adult citizens to vote. It gives the right to vote to all the adult citizens, that is you and me, regardless of whatever wealth we have, income we have, whatever gender we belong to, what is a race, what is ethnicity, what is a social status, what is a political stance we have, etc., etc. Did you understand? Only relatively minor exceptions we have, but apart from that, there is no sort of discrimination over there. So on the basis of universal franchise adult suffrage only, elections has to be conducted. That is what Article 326 talks about. So please have a note of it. Yes, Sadhana, are you from Southern Bharat? Yes, I am from South India. Yeah, of course, Sadhana, this is the best time. 6 a.m. is the best time. There is no doubt. And learners also benefit out of it. I think since Jan 10, a lot of people used to come. Today, some people are missing. I don't know what happened. Around 4 to 5 people, regular learners who comes. Pata nahi kya hai, what they're doing. I have to catch them now. Some kallatram is going on. So, just find out what where are the others, Surendra, Ravi and all Rishabh, all you people. Just find out where these people are. Hana? And quickly tell me. So, yes, is it very clear, all of you? Yes? Now, what is the next article tells? Article 327. Now, Article 327, it tells about nothing but very simple. The power of Parliament to make provisions with respect to what? Elections to legislature. And now 328 talks about the power of legislature of a state to make provision with respect to election to such legislature. And finally, Article 329, what does it tell us? With regard to Election Commission of India, it tells us nothing but the bar to interference by the court in electoral matters. That if we find some kallatram or some issues, now I can tell you that normally the courts will interfere. But here, Article 329 tells about the bar to interference, guys, by the court in the context of electoral matters. So these are the things which comes in Article 324 to 329 as far as Election Commission is concerned. Clear? Yes, guys, very clear? Now, let me quickly tell you regarding the source of power of ECI. From where do they get power? From where do they have such kind of thing? So, let me quickly tell you what is it all about. If you see, the source of power of the Election Commission of India is from the Constitution. No doubt in that. From Article 324 of the Constitution, guys, the Election Commission of India derives the powers and functions. Don't you think so? Now, to substantiate this particular statement, I have brought this example to you with regard to the judgment put forward by the Supreme Court as well. If you see, the Supreme Court, they held in a case, that is Mohinder Singh Gill was the Chief Election Commissioner, 1978 case, guys. They said that Article 324, they contains plenary powers wherein they have to make sure that they ensure impartial, fair elections. And exclusively these things are vested in the hands of Election Commission of India, guys, where they can take all the necessary steps to achieve the so-called constitutional objective. No doubt in that. So even in the judgment passed with the Supreme Court way back in the year 1978, they were supporting whatever provisions were put forward in Article 324 with regard to the transparency and fairness and freeness of whom, guys, the ECI, thereby giving a lot of autonomy to them, because that is the constitutional object they have to achieve. You understand? Now, in the so-called Election Commission of India, guys, something very interesting is there. Don't you think so that Election Commission means in order to conduct, as you told, in order to conduct the Election Commission or let's say elections to be in a very fair and free manner, there should be some sort of provisions there. So due to which the Election Commission of India brought in something called as MCC. What is MCC? It is not the MCC college and the other stuff. It is Moral Code of Conduct. So now that in order to conduct the elections in a very free, fair and transparent manner, the Election Commission of India brought something called as MCC. That is Model Code of Conduct. The moral or the Model Code of Conduct. So now that is issued by whom, guys? The Election Commission of India. And basically it is nothing but this Model Code of Conduct is what is to be done when elections are being conducted. So now basically the MCC consists of a set of principles or guidelines which is exclusively meant for the political parties, the candidates and the governments to other during an election. They have to follow those things. They shouldn't cross the so-called protocols and rules and regulations put forward, because that will be like overcrossing the ECI, which is where the election commission can take a stand in cancelling their partnership or cancelling their candidateship also. Clear? And now this particular code, guys, the MCC, is also based on consents among whom the political parties. And to talk about the MCC, guys, it's very interesting. When the issue of Election Commission of India happened, again, the southern part of our country, India, that is the state of Kerala, from where I belong, guys, I can tell you that the origin of the model code of conduct, to really dig deep into the background of this, it was traced back, I can tell you, to a code of conduct for political parties prepared by the Kerala government way back in the year 1960 for the assembly elections. Due to a lot of jagadas and conflicts and stuff like that, come on. During those days, it is from the Kerala government, guys, this origin of the code of conduct was brought in. And thus, this was adopted and refined and enlarged, or let's say modified in a bigger version by the Election Commission of India in the later years. And then from 1991 onward, they really implemented the so-called code of conduct, and that was called as Model Code of Conduct in an official way, MCC. Did you understand? And this itself is a very, very important hit list topic, guys, for the prelims perspective. The ECI, then the Chief Election Commissioner of India, then Model Code of Conduct, all these things you can get questions based on consider the following perspectives. Clear? Perfect. Yes, Soham. Electoral violence is a common incident in my state, but no action has ever been taken against the netas who provoke it. See, I'll tell you something. There was a news where a group of people, okay, I don't want to mention the name, but still you all will know it, the concerned ruling party or something, when the elections was going on previously, they were caught in a van or a car with electoral ballots and all. You remember? Near to Assam, they were caught. And they said that they were just going with them as such. It's a big issue. But did that issue pop up in a greater way? No. That is closed up. And did that prevent them from reconducting an election? No. That is completely closed. Why? That is the time where the transparency and the fairness and the biasness of Election Commission of India was questioned. Because with regard to appointment of members, they should never be at all inclined to any political party. But then they have to take a stand there, but then they were kind of in lieu with the concerned party as a whole, due to which nothing could be done. The violence couldn't break out in spite of oppositions from the opposite parties. You understand? So now multiple things like this is making you think. You start thinking, guys. So where is the transparency? Where is the fairness? Where is the freeness among officers? Don't you really think so all these things have to be addressed? Yes, it has to be. Now, having understood the model code of conduct, a few more information regarding the same. With regard to independence, do you really think that the Election Commission of India is independent? See, the fairness, freeness, transparency, independence, or the autonomous of the Election Commission of India, they are preserved by the clauses, as I told you, which is put forward or engraved in the Constitution of our country, India. And now it is telling us that, or let's say, as per the independence of Eci, it tells that the CEC, that is Chief Election Commissioner, cannot be removed from office except in the manner provided for the removal by the Supreme Court judge. That is a provision like that. And also the condition of the service for the Chief Election Commissioner cannot be varied to the incumbent disadvantage after appointment. So multiple things like this are there. Nobody can just interfere like that and do things. But that doesn't mean that the one who is appointed should also be in lieu with the current parties or whatever it is. They should be completely very free, fair and transparent, and they shouldn't be inclined to any such side of political party also. But today that is not the case. So that is why all these rascals and issues and stuffs are happening. Clear? Now, to talk about the structure, guys, if you see, for example, tomorrow, even if you are a part of the Election Commission of India, this is how the structure is. The structure of the commissions, originally, if you see when this was put forward, take care, the commission had only one election commissioner. But in the year 1989, so many changes and amendments were made to the Election Commission Amendment, Commission Amendment Act. Take care. And that time, from one, they made it to two, which means that today they are a multi-member body. They have one chief election commissioner. Okay, the Election Commission of India, and two election commissioners. So one is a chief and others will come under them, like the head and the associate. Okay. And now where do they have the secretariat? Of course, in the NCR, National Capital Region, that is New Delhi. There only you can find the secretariat of the Election Commission of India. Clear? This is a structure, guys, just for you to know. I'm telling you, just for you to know. So thus, the constitution provided for the election commission to either be a single member or a multi-member body. And thus, as per the Election Commission Amendment Act of 1989, today it is a multi-member body with a one chief election commissioner and two other election members. Clear? And if you see in the year 1989, exactly in 16th of October month, okay, it was the very first time that the Election Commission of India they became a three-member body. At that time, Mr. RVS Peri Shastri, he was the Chief Election Commissioner, and you had two other election commissioners also who are the members. One Mr. Segal and SS Daona. Those days I'm telling you. Clear? And then again in the year 1993, in the month of October 1st, what happened was like this again became a three-member body. That time the Chief Election Commissioner was Mr. Sheshan, and then you had Mr. Gill and GVG Krishnamurthy as the other two members. And over the years it kept on changing. Okay. And thus in the year 2000, presently, even today, from 2018 to 2022, if you see, again, the Election Commission of India is a three-member body, making it a multi-member one. And the Chief Election Commissioner is whom, guys? Who is he? Om Prakash Rawat. And the remaining two Election Commissioners of India is Sunil Arora and Mr. Ashok Lavasa. Clear? This particular data is taken from the Election Commission of India.nic.in from the government website itself. Clear? Yes, Rishabh, Article 324 EC, right? Yes, yes. Article 324 is Election Commission only, yeah. See, from 324 to 329, as I told you, see, that is why I give a background data. I explained to you what all these articles is. Can you see? Article 324 to 329 deals with the entire past, function, tenure, eligibility, sub kuch of the commission and the member. And what exactly each of these articles talks only, I was telling you as a background data for a better understanding. Clear? So the reason when I teach all these things is why? Because if I just tell you 324 to 329 deals with that. So you will think that all the articles of that range is dealing with the same thing. It deals with the broader intention of Election Commission, but every single article has a different aspects of it. So that has to be understood. So you'll be able to place them properly. Clear? Now, so now when you tag, or let's say when you put a post in Instagram or Facebook or wherever, tag these people also. Who? Mr. Om Prakash Rawat and Sunil Arora and Ashok Lavasa, who are the current ECI members, guys, the Chief Election Commissioners and the ECI. Do you think their kind of functioning is transparent and free? They have been questioned. Mainly, Mr. Om Prakash Rawat has been questioned, guys, that is the Chief Election Commissioner doing justice, or is he allowed to function in the ECI, Election Commission of India, in a fair and free manner? And don't you think so? It should have more transparency. They should ensure more transparency. All these kind of questions are heating up like anything. The fire is really getting more heated up, I can tell you. Clear? I'm not joking, guys. A very controversial one. Now, if you see, just like the central perspective, guys, at the state level also, for the state level elections also, don't you think so you need a commission? Yes, you need. So at the state level election commission, it is held by the chief electoral officer, who is an IAS rank officer, which means tomorrow all of you want to become civil service officer, IAS, IPS, etc., etc. So now you see your bureaucrat, the IAS, even you will be the state election level election commission. They'll be held by the chief electoral officer, and that will not be nobody other than the so-called bureaucrat. So now it is very, very important that tomorrow when you want to become, you are aspiring to become a bureaucrat, guys, who knows that you won't be a part of the election commission process and won't be a part of this as well. So you should know in detail the background of it, the practical, functioning of that it as a whole for you to perform your role better. Don't you think so? Yes. That is why you're studying this. And thus I can tell you that the president, they appoint the chief election commissioner and the election commissioners, guys. It is absolutely vested in the hands of the president, not the governor or the PM or anybody, rather the president himself. And what is the tenure, guys? Is it 2 years, 3 years or 5 years? Normally people think it is 3 or 5 years. But let me tell you guys, the Election Commission of India, with regard to the chief election commissioners and also the other two election members, they have a fixed tenure of 6 years. Or let's say up to 65 years, whichever is earlier. Did you understand? So don't forget. And thus, they enjoy the very same status, the power, the status, and receive a salary and perks and other benefits, which is equal to the judges of the Supreme Court of India. So the power that they are holding is not a joke, guys. It's very, very, powerful. And the same salary, everything they get. And now, if at all you find, okay, let's say for example, the current Chief Election Commissioner of India, you found them in some rascals or some sort of corruption, for example, what you can do? You cannot just remove them like that. So now if at all the Chief Election Commissioner has to be removed, then they can be removed from the office before the tenure of 6 years only through a process of removal which is similar to that of a Supreme Court judge by the Parliament. Just like that, you cannot put an accusation and remove. It is a huge process because here it is a very, very important post, guys, which is having a lot of power and responsibilities. Clear? So only like that it can be removed. Did you understand, all of you? Clear? Is it very fine, all of you? And now, what are the functions of the ECI, guys? A quick look into the functions of the Election Commission of India as follows. Take care. The Election Commission of India superintends. Am I audible to you? Am I audible and visible? I can't see your messages. Is everything fine? Perfect. So now to talk about the functions of the Election Commission, as I told you, one is, they have the function of superintendence, direct and control the entire process of conducting elections to the Parliament. And with that, of the legislature of every state and offices of the President and Vice President of India. Very, very important. And now, apart from all these things, the most important, yes, they were the most important thing is, as far as Election Commission of India is concerned, they are the sole authority to decide the election schedule for the conduct of period and timely elections, whether general or by-election. So now, if the ECI is not there, this becomes a big trouble and issue. You understand? So now, as per their, suggestions and opinions and decisions only, the periodic and the timely elections, be it general elections or by-elections, has been conducted. So now Election Commission of India is very, very important because only if they are there, we'll be able to select the ruling party or whatever party we want. We can cast a vote and we can do a lot of things and we'll have a proper governance. So now without the Election Commission, this couldn't be possible. And now Election Commission is doing that. They have to be very, very unbiased. They cannot be biased at all. Not even 0.1%. But now today they are saying that they are biased. They're saying that even the electoral voting machine that you have today, that is having Kallataram, they are saying. It is not the normal ballot that you have. The paper ballot where you can do fake things. But even they are saying that the electronic ballot what you have, that is also a fake thing. There are a lot of Kallataram, that is acquisitions put up. And simply nobody is putting an acquisition because they have found some reasons out of that. Yeah, there are a lot of acquisitions that has been put forward. Clear? Yes, Ram. Now some states are conducting general elections. Model code of conduct is announced. UPSC notification announced or not at this time. I didn't understand. See, whenever there is a general election, of course, the MCC will be announced. Model code of conduct has to be announced. Otherwise, you cannot do it. That is the whole point. Yes, this is one of the reasons regarding unbiasedness and opaqueness of ECI. Obviously, it should be. Yes, Rishabh, ma'am, you should take this Devas ISR topic also. Yeah, I will do that. Don't worry. You just remind me whatever you want in the telegram. See, you're all a part of my telegram, right? Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC. That is my telegram channel, guys. Join there. Otherwise, in the 6 p.m. class, download the Unacademy app. Use the code Nisha IAS Live. Come for the sessions there. I'll pin up my telegram channel link. So you can directly receive all the notifications of my free class, plus class, of kuch like that. Okay? Yes, Shantapa. Perfect. Now, here we go to talk about the next important functions of the ECI. So having understood the most important functions are these. Yes, what is it, Rishabh? I can only see that. Okay, acha. Ma'am, I feel that like Supreme Court gave title of toothlessness tiger to NHRC and cased parrot to CBI. There'll be good mnemonics TC also. It should be, Rishabh, it's very interesting as a whole. So I will take that, don't worry. And this particular topic is also in, very interesting manner. The thing is that directly we cannot take the names. We have to be very, very diplomatic in whatever analysis we do. And as far as UPSC is concerned, it's not about names. It is about what should be done for this? Having a proper understanding of the background of the topic, the static and the other theoretical perspective, followed by the issues and challenges concerned and what you can do. The next is way forward. That is very, very important, because there only you can get the balance of the diplomatic conclusions, and that has to be put forward. Otherwise, there is no point, right? Talking about problem, where is the solution? So that has to be understood in a nice manner. Take care. Perfect. So I hope that everybody is enjoying this transparency election commission topic. Hannah, guys, you should indeed. And thus, the next important function of the Election Commission of India is it prepares electoral rolls. They issue the electronic photo identity card as well. Don't you think so? So thus, they also decide on what they decide on the location of polling stations, the assignment of voters to polling stations, then the location of counting centers, what are the arrangements to be made in around polling stations and counting centers and all in allied matters. So now you see multiple things are important. You go, you poll, and you come back. You understand? Now, it is the duty of the Election Commission of India to make sure that, okay, the polling stations are very fair and transparent. There is no kallatram there. Now, the centers, the counting, the arrangements, oh my goodness, what all to be done, everything, every single thing is decided by the Election Commission. You cannot have a, say of the government there, because we are going to elect the government. So they cannot come and do all these things, that it will be in their favor. You understand? So election commission is separately, a body which exercises so many independent powers. So it's very, very important that they got to be free and transparent. Clear? And thus, the Election Commission of India, another important function is that they grant recognition to the political parties and AM guys, and they even allot election symbols to them along with settling disputes related to that. That also they do, because they don't want any jagadas and conflicts to come out. And thus, the most important point is the electoral roll, and they issue EPIC, electronic photo identity cards, for a better transparency and all. But in spite of that, still they have been questioned. Why is there no transparency? Because here also Kallatharam has been on the core. They're trying to do some whims and fancies is what the news is coming out. Hannah? And thus, if you see this particular commission, take care. This particular commission, they have an advisory jurisdiction in the matter of all the post-election disqualification of sitting members of parliament and state legislature if they found to be corrupt and all. And that time they issues the MCC, Model Code of Conduct in Election for political parties and candidates, so that nobody will indulge in all the unfair or bad or corrupted practices, and there is no arbitrary abuse of powers by those in power. They will not do all those. That is why MCC is put forward. Clear? So I can see a question from Ram asking what is electoral bond. See, in this particular context, electoral bond is also a topic which can be discussed. So let's quickly have a look into what is electoral, bonds. So now, electoral bond is what? It's a financial instruments, Ram, for making all the donations to political parties. See now, let's say for example, you are conducting election and I am conducting election, or let's say anybody else in the class is conducting election. So we are different political parties. So now, for the campaigning, for the kind of financial support for the parties, for other perspectives, you need funding. So funding can come from different perspectives for you. It can come from foreign funding, it can come from NRIs, it can come from various sources. Take as donation. So now, electoral bond is nothing but a financial instruments making donations to the political parties. And these bonds are issued in multiples of different rupees, guys. Okay, that could be anything. It could be, any amount. That is, it can be in multiples of 1,000 rupees, 10,000, it could be rupees 10,000, it could be 1 lakh, 1 crore, etc., etc. So there is no maximum limit. Minimum is like, over 1,000, but there also, you cannot say minimum as such. But the maximum limit of the amount which has been issued for the political party, there is no limit at all. It is crores and crores of rupees. And now, not everybody can issue electoral bond. Okay, electoral bond being a financial instrument, guys, the authorized channel or the authority to issue and encash this cash is your largest commercial bank of country India. That is your SBI, previously called as the Imperial Bank of India. Hannah. So thus, the State Bank of India is authorized to issue and encash what these bonds. and they are valid for 15 days from the date of issuance. That is how it has been conducted. And now these electoral bonds, they are also redeemable. I repeat, they are redeemable in the designated account of a registered political party. For example, if they're sending to you as a registered political party, they're also redeemable, guys, in the so-called account. And these bonds are available for purchase by any person who is a citizen of our country, India, or who is incorporated or let's say even established in India, I can tell you, for a period of let's say 10 days in the months of January, April, then July and October, as may be specified by the central government. There are multiple, phases also like that. Clear? But for example, let's say for example, I am sending the money, okay, and you are contesting for election, Ram. Now, the donor name will never be mentioned. It will be unknown. The identity is not mentioned. Clear? This is what you should know with regard to the electoral bonds. Clear? And now, in the year 2021, in March now, there was a big issue of electoral bonds, guys. That is with regard to the misuse. The Supreme Court flagged the possibility of misuse of money received by political parties through the electoral bonds. Because they said that it has been used for some violent protests and they are using for terrorist funding and all. There was a big issue popping up like that. So you can just even go through those things also. It's good that you asked this question, Ram. It's a very, very, current topic of discussion, which is associated with the Election Commission. Clear? Yes, Qureshi, good morning. Is it very clear everybody else as well? Perfect? Okay. So now, the next important function of the Election Commission is what? They set limit of campaign expenditure per candidate to all the political parties, and also they make sure that they are reviewing and monitoring on the same to ensure the transparency there. But still, Kallatram is for over there, guys. No doubt in that. Yes, Ram, these bonds are accepted from NRIs. NRIs only will do that, Ram. NRIs, the norms, everybody, of course, the donor will never be, shown out. They only have a lot of money with them now. Bags and bags of paisa will be there. Anyways, the next one. Now, do you really think, guys, having understood what is ECI, the current affairs perspective of it a little bit, because you have yet more to discuss, and also the other background data, do you really think Election Commission for India is a critical one? Is it important? And if so, why do we really need that? What are those strong killer points, the 5 to 6 killer points out of the entire points that makes you feel that the Election Commission of India is a mandatory stuff? What is that? Let's quickly have a look into what it is. Okay, yes, Vetrivel, good morning. So here we go. The importance of Election Commission for India is very simple, guys. See, if you want to conduct the national and the state elections in a very, very successful manner, then you need ECI, because since 1952, we have been able to conduct the national as well as state elections in a very successful manner because of ECI, it has been said. But though that is the case also, in recent years, however, this commission started to play the more active role to ensure greater participation of people. We need more people to come and vote, because if people were reluctant to do that, election commission's role has increased. But in that process, what happened? The question of transparency, the question of fairness and freeness was brought in. Clear? Now, recent years, because of the conflicts and issues in Jagadas, what happened was like, in spite of conducting the elections, okay, or let's say preparing the electoral roll and other stuff, this Election Commission of India, you can see that their responsibility has, doubled, or it has become two-folded in the context that they have gone to the extent of disciplining the political parties with the threat of de-recognizing if the parties failed in maintaining inner party democracy, because they could see that. So that is the reason why ECI had to interfere like that. But that turned out to be in a different way, and that furiated lot of news as if they are one-sided, they are biased and stuff like that. So now, even they have the power to interfere like that, guys, of disciplining the political parties also. That is with the threat of de-recognizing if the parties is failing to maintain the discipline. They'll say we will not recognize. They have so-called power. Even if that party could be a ruling party in the coming years also, the Election Commission doesn't care as far as elections have been conducted. So they have that authenticity or that autonomy, the power with them. You got the point? That is the most important reason why we need to have Election Commission of India. Clear? Otherwise, you can see the parties fighting among each other, full jagadas, conflicts, sab kuch like that. Fine? Because see, from the time of starting election, for preparing the electoral rolls, for announcing the results, for declaration of results, sab kuch, you need Election Commission of India. From the period 1 to period 10. in the context of from the starting stage to the finishing stage, you need what? Election Commission of India. There is no doubt in that. So now it's very important to make sure that we are very, very careful with the so-called ECI without any corruptions and transparency issues. And thus, as I told in the previous, slides in the beginning of the class, it's very important because they have to uphold the values which has been enshrined in the constitution of our country. And also they have to make sure the elections are conducted in a very, very free, fair, credible, transparent, accountable manner with highest level of autonomy and professionalism. And the integrity also should be maintained because they are the one who have a great control over the electoral governance. So they have to make sure that equality, equity, impartiality, independence is maintained, because that is what the Constitution of India also talks with regard to Election Commission of India's responsibilities. Clear? So this has to be maintained. Clear? And thus, with regard to the participation, guys, Election Commission of India always makes sure that, see, every single eligible citizen should participate in the electoral process. And that in a very, very inclusive, voter-centric and voter-friendly environment. There should be no discrimination of caste, creed, color, sex, religion as a whole. Clear? And they also make sure that they engages the political parties, guys, and all the stakeholders in the interest of the electoral process. That's very important. And voter-friendly is in the context that it should be easy for the people to access and vote, wherein the voting polls or booths should be available every now and then, every place as a whole. Clear? And today, if you see, there is no need for you to physically come and vote also via the online perspective digital voting. There are multiple benefits like that. So now, as the technology is progressing, as digitalization is progressing, there are also multiple things like that. Hannah? Now, the next important reason, or let's say the importance why you need to have election commission is very simple. It also creates a lot of awareness about what? About the electoral process and the electoral governance among stakeholders, namely the voters, the political parties, election functionaries, candidates, and people at large. Why? Why do they really do that? This awareness has been created by the election commissioners just because they want to increase or enhance and strengthen the confidence and trust in the electoral system of country. People, that is we the common people, all the citizens should feel that the parties that have been elected through the election commission's process is fair and transparent. There is no kallatram, there is no biasness. Even if we cast a vote, our vote is being counted in the right manner, not in any kallatram or let's say corrupted manner. So that is the reason, guys, election commission is very, very important for our country, India. Clear? Now, let me quickly tell you some important initiatives taken by the Election Commission of India, guys, because that is very, very important. If you see, one was previously lot of kallatram. One person can vote multiple times. Really, they can do that. So now, introduction of voters ID was one such initiative, which is effectively taken by the Election Commission of India. Why? Because they want to stop fraudulent voting. And next is EVM. Since 2003, electronic voting machine was introduced. That is to stop the violence due to booth capturing agenda. That is the polling booth and all, they'll capture a lot of violence, and the paper ballot, they'll say, you counted extra 10, you counted X minus 10. So now that manual error of counting can also happen. So now the electronic voting machine was brought in. That is also a major initiative taken by the ECI to make it more transparent. So today with the ID cards and the EVM, which we should go and do today, it is said that automatically everything has been captured. Clear? That is how it works. And don't you think so? The voter ID as well as the EVM, electronic voting machine, is actually something that does a greater role with regard to the voting perspective. And that's a good initiative. But over the years, as technology is developing and progressing also, you can see, though you have the voter ID, though you have the electronic voting machines, kallatram can also be done. Henna? That is what the people are saying. They can do all the settings and keep in that. Pata nahi kya hai, boy, what all acquisitions they have been making. That is another important point to be understood. Clear? Another important initiative taken with the Election Commission of India is electoral voting machines. It is said that they also solve the logistical problem of printing paper ballots, transporting and safely storing them, and then physically counting millions of votes. See, so man error, or let's say human error, is very, very common there. Physical counting, yeah. What if the person who's counting has been biased, or let's say has been kind of bribed by the concerned party? What guarantee you have? So multiple things like this has to be understood. You understand? So now, to ensure more transparency and credibility of the election process, the VVPAT was introduced with the so-called electoral voting machines at every single polling stations. And by the way, what is VVPAT, guys? What is VVPAT? Voter Verifiable Paper Audit Trail. I repeat, Voter Verifiable paper audit trail. You can write it. Voter verifiable paper audit trail. Clear? That is introduced along with the electronic voting machines at every single polling station. That's very, very important. That is, it's a method of providing feedback to voters using a ballotless voting system, because EVM is going and pressing it, right? The same thing. And currently for our country, India, if you see, the current electronic voting machines now, we are having the M3. There is a version called as M3. Okay. The M3 version of voter verifiable paper audit trail or VVPAT capability. The older version was M1 and M2. Now we are upgraded to M3 as a whole. These are all practical, information for you people, just for you to have a very good understanding of how exactly this is happening. Clear? So please make a note of this. Now, another important initiative was called as SVEEP. What is that? Systematic Voters Education and Electoral Participation Program. I repeat, Systematic Voters Education and Electoral Participation Program. And that was better known as SVEEP. And since 2009, it was introduced, guys. Why? Because this is one of the most important or celebrated flagship program of the Election Commission of India for voter education. When you go and vote, you should be highly educated what to do and what not to do, and spreading the voter awareness and promoting vote literacy in our country, India. They should know how to do that also now. So now voter awareness, voter education, voter literacy, all these things are important. And now there is something called as nota. You tell me honestly, nota. That is, you don't even want to, vote. Do you really go for nota, guys? There was a point of time when all the youngsters said we are going for nota. But let me tell you that as a responsible citizen, when there is election, guys, don't be without voting. No, hamara hak hai, or let's say hapka, it's a right to vote. It's a right to choose the person who should rule us, whether the concerned party comes or not. But at least as a citizen, you'll feel responsible. You have done your duty instead of moving out. Even the vote that you missed to cast can even change the fate of the fate of our country India with regard to governance. That is why people keep telling you, don't prevent yourself from voting. Clear? That's very, very important. And thus, if you see nota, that is none of the above voting system was introduced to facilitate voters who support none of the candidates. But then today, nota has also been questioned. Clear? Because this was quite huge, guys, among the youngsters, at some point of time. So this nota shouldn't be there is what they are saying. You cast a vote for whichever party you want. Don't be like you, it shouldn't be like you never support anybody. Have a stand. Take a stand and make sure that you are doing it. Yes, Ram? In India, right to vote is a fundamental right. Obviously, right to vote is a very, very important right. It comes under the provisions of that. You have to vote. That is the thing. Yes, Rishabh, in Australia, this nota is in use highly. See, over there and in the context of a country, India, things are quite different. Here, we are a highly democratic country where, our population is too huge and we need a good government to really, really make sure that we are able to achieve the so-called development process, like the so-called Australia, UK, US, or whatever it is. So now the conditions over there and over here is totally different. So even if the Australian people go for nota, it doesn't matter at all compared to a country, India. Clear? That is the whole logic here. Now, the next important, yes, Tech News, good morning. The next important thing is the initiative taken by Election Commission of India is totalizer. That was also introduced by the ECI, guys. And what is that? It's nothing but a mechanism, in which the voting machines in India, what you'll do is in totalizer, which is introduced in this mechanism is nothing but the voting machines in India. In that, there will be provision to hide the booth-wise voting patterns. They'll have all the information hidden, guys, for a better transparency is what they say. And the next thing is, if you see the street place and rarely equipped EVMs, electronic voting machines, that was also introduced in the year 2019, guys. Why? Because in the that time election, they wanted to have more of awareness to be spread with regard to how to use the EVM, that is electronic voting machines and all, for the rural, illiterate and blind voters. That is also important now. And thus, mobile phones. Multiple mobile apps were launched to facilitate various kind of voters. So now things are in your fingertips today. So it's very, very important that you really cast a vote. Clear? Now, having understood all this, don't you think so it's high time that you're having a great look into the issues or challenges faced by the ECI? Because that is something, guys, which will really make you understand whether this Election Commission of India is really fair and transparent as it appears. It's a sarcasm. The high level of sarcasm it is. That is, do you really think it is fair and transparent as it appears? Which means in appearance it's very fair and transparent. But when you dig deep inside, come on, there is some issue happening out there. That is what this particular session will tell you also. It will give you a lot of answers to all these questions. So now, moving on to the most important and let's say the highlighted area of today's class, the issues which is associated with the Election Commission of India. Having understood the roles, functions, importance, and subkuch, it's very important to know the challenge of the issue. One is undefined scope of power. So now we know that to conduct the elections properly, the Election Commission of India has put forward something called as MCC, Model Code of Conduct. But then, besides the MCC, the Election Commission of India, guys, the issues are from time to time directions, instructions, clarifications on a host of issues that crop up in the course of elections. When the election is coming, oh my goodness, in spite of guidelines, protocols, sub kuch put forward in the model code of conduct, still issues pop up. And now, this code, that is model code of conduct, it does not say what the ECI can do. That is election code of conduct can do. It just talk about the guidelines. See, model code of conduct is nothing but the protocol. What all the candidate, for example, if you are contesting for election, as a candidate, what you should do, what a political party should adhere. You cannot go for any violent protest. You cannot do that. You cannot do this. That's it. So it just talks only about the guidelines for the candidates, political party and governance. Rather, it does not tell what the election commission can do. If at all they kind of violate all this, fatafat like that, the Election Commission of India can take and throw them out. Those kind of things are not mentioned, but just the guidelines, which has to be adhered by the candidates, political parties, and the governments. Clear? So the scope of power of the ECI is actually undefined. It is really not brought into, for force completely. Let's say brought into light completely. And thus, there is a lot of confusion, guys. A considerable amount of chaos or confusion also exists with regard to the extent and nature of powers which are available to the Election Commission of India with regard to enforcing the model code of conduct as well as other decisions relating to elections. Sometimes people think that what does the ECI has to do? Do they really have this power? Can they really do that? Can they really do this? So now the multiple questions like this pop up into your brain. Clear? So that is very important to understand, guys. That is one issue. Next important issue associated with the Election Commission of India is no legal backing of MCC. Now, Election Commission of India tells that MCC is the biggest strength they have, but let me tell you that there is no legal backing. This model code of conduct has been framed in such a way that it is on the basis of a consensus among the political party. And now it has not been given any legal backing. So now, do you think the authenticity or the credibility of the Election Commission of India can be completely fulfilled? No, because legal backing is not there. So anytime they can change whatever guidelines or protocols they are given. You understand? So that's because of which what happened, they don't even have a statutory or legal value, guys. And it is enforced only by the moral and constitutional authority of the Election Commission. That is also another important issue or challenge associated with what? The Election Commission of India. Clear? So people used to think that, when you have such kind of moral code of conduct, you can conduct elections properly. But let me tell you that is not the case. Clear? Every single time when you understand this, try to understand that this is not the case. Next is transfer of officials. Oh my goodness. This is indeed another important topic to be understood. Very, very big issue, guys, pertaining to the functioning of the Election Commission of India is continuously they have an abrupt transfer of senior officials working under state governments by an order of commission. Fatafat like that. That's very, very disturbing as a whole. Again, to quote the example, in the Mohinder Singh Gill's case, the Supreme Court made it clear that the Election Commission of India can draw power from Article 324. Exclusively only from that, when no law exists which governs a particular matter. So that is also another important, issue or let's say challenge associated where somewhere or the other it is restricting the power of ECI, I can tell you. However, that is the case also, guys. With regard to transfer of officials and other matters, I can tell you that they govern by certain rules which is put up under Article 309 of the Constitution. And now in such a kind of situations, do you think the Election Commission of India can bypass that? No. Already it has been put up in the Article 309. So now the Election Commission of India cannot bypass under the purported exercise of the power conferred by Article 324. So these are the kind of limitations that they have. Now, don't you think so, guys? In the issues or challenges, there is a conflict with the law as well? Yes, there is. If you see, according to the Model Code of Conduct, the ministers cannot announce any financial grant. For example, as per the MCC, the political party, the government should not even interfere in what the election process is happening or going on. They cannot even influence them in any single way. So now, according to Model Code of Conduct, the ministers, They cannot even announce any financial grant in any form, or they cannot even think of making a promise of construction of roads, provision of drinking water facility, etc., etc. Because, or let's say they make any temporary ad hoc appointments in the government, they cannot do all these kind of stuff. And if you see section 123 of the Representation of People's Act 1951, that also tells us that declaration of public policy, or let's say the exercise of a legal right, that will not be regarded as interfering with the free exercise of electoral right. So now with the law itself, the Election Commission of India is in conflict. So now that is also one of the major issue to be considered. Hena? And the next important issue associated with the Election Commission is lack of enforceability. You have all these things for Election Commission of India, guys, but now when it comes to enforceability, it is not up to power. Why? Because, for example, take care. You are conducting for an election, or let's say I'm conducting for an election. Now, suddenly, they found with some sort of, corruptions or collateral malpractice, of biasness, of funding, or let's say of some sort of stuffs like that. Now, though it has been understood also, yes, PK, we'll do that, don't worry. Where are the others in the class, PK? Why you joined late? You didn't receive a notification or what? Okay, so now, in spite of all the above mentioned functions and powers of Election Commission also, the Election Commission does not have the power to disqualify candidates who commit electoral malpractice. So now they say that you should not do that malpractice, this corruption, that corruption. But then, in reality, if a candidate is committing such kind of electoral malpractice, they cannot disqualify. They can take actions, but disqualification becomes a big question mark. So the lack of enforceability in what they say that they will disqualify, they'll do that, they'll fatafat do that, this, etc. But then they cannot. At best, it may direct the registration of case. They can file a case and they can hold the candidateship, but then they cannot completely disqualify. So that particular thing is a very big disadvantage, guys. So now this is giving a kind of a kind of more freedom to the people, the political people or parties to do corruption, to do malpractice in any way for them to win. You understand? This is something to be removed. And if you see, this is one of the major reasons, guys. If you see in the year 2019 general election, the Election Commission of India admitted to the Supreme Court that it was toothless. They had to admit, come on, we are toothless. We cannot do anything. In spite of having the power, in spite of being the most important body for conducting elections, they couldn't do anything here because they did not even have enough powers to deal with inflammatory or decisive speeches in the election campaign. The political party or the candidate should not do some sort of speech or let's say some sort of words. But then when they used it, the Election Commission of India couldn't say anything. They were toothless in spite of the case being registered. So this is something to be really taken into consideration. Then why the hell do you really think we need to have Election Commission of India when they are toothless, when they themselves say that they are toothless? What is the credibility? What is the transparency? From where do you think that the parties that are ruling us is really based on the way that people voted? So multiple questions like this comes to your brain. Don't you think so? Because this particular statement itself is very highlighting the same, guys. Hena? Yes or no? Yes, it is. That is the very biggest disadvantage or challenge of what the ECI. Next is failure of Parliament in enacting laws. The next important issue or challenge is this. Now, it is the Parliament, guys, who is responsible for making laws with respect to what appointment of the election commissioners of India. Now, though that is the case also, however, apart from enacting a law in 1989, which is enlarging or multiplying the number of people in the ECs from one chief election commissioner with two election members, the Parliament has so far not enacted any changes to appointment process. It is the President who does that. It is from 1 to 3 they've made, multi-body member. But then apart from that, no other change they have done, guys. That is one thing. And next is over-dependence on the executive for appointment. See, Election Commission of India, they appoint the people. Take care. Now, the President does that for them. Now, too much of dependence is there, guys, on the executive appointment. Now, since, as Sadhana was telling initially in the class regarding the quasi-judicial function, as I saw you, girl, if you see this Election Commission of India, they render a quasi-judicial function between the ruling and the other parties. So now, when such is the case, what happens, you tell me? The executive cannot be a sole participant in the appointment of election commissions, right? But if you see currently what is happening, the current practice of appointment of election commissions by the sender, it is violating Article 14, Article 324, Clause 2 and democracy, which is a very basic piece of the Constitution. Oh my goodness, when this is a thing. What authenticity credibility you have for the people who have appointed since 2018? So you are questioning the authenticity of the Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Prakash Rawat, and also the other people who put up there. Don't you think so? Yes, that is what the statement is telling. So which means the appointment is not proper. Do you really think All these kind of questions come. I'm not saying it is not proper. I'm saying these questions come. Kind of, is there a credibility there? Some kallatram has happened, some corruptions has happened, some sort of giruri has happened. You understand? So now multiple things like this pop up to your mind when you really have a look into the issues. Clear? Now, these are the most important issues or challenges associated with the Election Commission. Now you tell me, do you really think the Election Commission of India, are they really fair and transparent like how they see? As an ANA, a lot of loopholes are to be rectified or corrected. Don't you think so? Yes, it's a reality. So now what you can do, the next is the way forward or the suggestions for the same. So here we go. One is we have a multi-member body. Let's make it multi-institutional committee. Let there be multi-institutional committee, guys, to solve all these issues. One is, given that or keeping in mind that the Election Commission of India is the institutional keystone holding up the edifice of Indian democracy. That is, they have to conduct the elections, right? So now establishing a multi-institutional bipartisan committee for a fair, free, transparent selection of election commissioners can definitely increase and enhance what? The perceived and actual independence of ECI. If you really want independence and fair and free and transparency of election commission as what we say, then multi-institutional committee and bipartisan committee can be a very good option, because it is the Election Commission of India that is holding up the edifice of the Indian democracy, guys. So that is very important. And thus, the next important point is the quasi-judicial nature of the Election Commission of India's function. That is making it very important that the appointment process conform to the strictest democratic principle. And such a procedure, I can tell you, it is already with regard to the appointment of authorities, guys, like the Chief Information Commissioner, Lokpal, Vigilance Commissioner, and the Director of the General of Bureaus of Intelligence and all. That is also to be, done. So what is happening there? The same thing can be brought in here as well with regard to appointments. And if you see the ARC, there were so many recommendations, guys, given from the ARC report also. And if you see, as per the second ARC report, they recommended that the Election Commission of India Collegium, headed by the PM of our country, India, PM Modi, that should make recommendations for what? For the president with regard to the appointment of the Election Commission members to make it more transparent. And if you see in the year 2015, there was a case, that is the Anu Barnawal was of India case, that also raised the demand for the collegium system. There should be a collegium system for Election Commission of India. And collegium and Election Commission of India are the hit list topic for prelims as a whole. Clear? Please note it. And if you even see, there was Supreme Court bench, guys. In that Supreme Court bench comprising of, Chief Justice J.S. Kekhar and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. He also noted that the Election Commission supervise and hold elections across the country. And the selection has to be made in the more transparent manner. So now, even in the previous perspective, also multiple things like this has popped up. Clear? So just make a note of all this. And now, another important way forward is we know a lot of issues in the parliament with regard to the Election Commission of India is happening. So now what can you do, or what can the parliament do to overcome that? So the role of parliament is, it is said that as a way forward, a solution to make the Election Commission of India more efficient, transparent and unbiased, the parliament would do well to preempt judicial structures. How can they do that? They can do that by going ahead and formulating a new law. And that new law should be in such a way that they are establishing a multi-institutional bipartisan collegium to select the Election Commission of India rather than becoming biased within a small framework. It should be really open up. Clear? And there is a need for what? The debate and discussions in the parliament with regard to the issue of free, fairness and independence of the Election Commission of India, and consequently passing of required legislation, because this has to be brought out. The more and more you keep it, it is not going to work. That is why, guys, a group of retired bureaucrats, I repeat, retired bureaucrats and diplomats wrote directly to the president to look into the transparency, fairness and effectiveness of the Election Commission, which threw light on so many issues that the Election Commission of India was facing, or let's say, which has been known and unknown to people. Today it has been brought into forecast. Today it is brought into forefront. Clear? Because we all know that after all, separation of powers is the gold standard for government across the world. So we need to have that election commission also, right? So the role of parliament has to be very notable. Clear? Is it clear, all of you? Yes, PK has asked a question. Who is the current, who is it? Who is the current current chief election commissioner? I have told you this. You were not in the class. since April 13, you know what happened? What happened was like, since April 13, 2021, Sushil Chandra, his office is incumbent. His office is incumbent. Clear? Yes. After Sunil Arora, then came the Sushil Chandra, and his office is incumbent now. The term of office is incumbent. Yes, Mahipal Pal Singh and PK. Perfect. Thus, what did you understand from this particular topic, my young officers? From the pros and cons and way forward, it is understandable that this particular topic called as Election Commission of India, with regard to more transparency, fairness and free as what it requires, I can tell you that from my point of view, guys, Election Commission of India's constitutional responsibilities, come on, they require a fair and transparent appointment process. Let me tell you that. I will never say that currently the appointment process is fair and transparent. No, SNA. It is not like how you see. So it requires the constitutional responsibilities of the ECI. See, keeping in mind the constitutional perspective, they require a fair and free and transparent appointment process that is beyond the reproach. Because that only will reaffirm or make it more stronger, guys, the faith of the people in this vital pillar of Indian polity. Otherwise, nobody will believe. You and me will stop voting. We'll still go for nota. We'll still say that all these things are bullshit. We'll start, losing confidence in the governance. That is why, guys, in the economic survey of India of last year, they said that, trust and confidence. Trust is to be considered as a public good. That has to be, brought in, because gaining trust of people is the most important thing to have an effective governance. Seriously. So now this thing is very, very important. And thus, the existing veil or this existing kind of hidden stuff regarding the appointment process of election commissioners potentially undermines the very structure on which India's democratic aspirations rest. Very true. So this has to be taken out. And more transparency should be there with regard to appointment process to ensure that there is no biasness in the Election Commission of India. Clear? And with regard to the members who have been appointed. So this is what you got to know from this amazing topic of the day, my young officers. I hope you really enjoyed the class. If so, don't forget to put forward valuable feedbacks once the class is done. And do like the video and do share it across your peers and colleagues and friends. Let them understand with regard to the Election Commission of India, is it really fair and transparent? Now express your viewpoint. Do you really think, guys, it is fair and transparent as it appears? I have told you entirely from the scratch to the advanced level in multiple dimensions with a neutral or a balanced or a diplomatic conclusion. So now do you really think, is it fair and transparent and there is no need for any sort of look into this? Definitely no. It requires to be more fair and transparent because the current loophole that has been there, addressing all the issues and challenge what we said in today's class, it has to be made more and more effective. Otherwise, it is really going to affect the democracy of our country, India, and the trust of the people with regard to the Indian polity. Clear? So this has to be taken into consideration. So now, did you really enjoy this topic, guys? I hope you did. So now catch me live for more new sessions in the coming classes, guys. So now make sure that when the clock strikes 6 a.m. till 6:15 you take time, no issues. 6:15 a.m. make sure that you are coming to attend the classes live because early bird catches the worm. Clear? And yesterday we never had a class. So nothing to worry. Yesterday there was no session. You didn't miss any session. Some people were worried that yesterday's session was missing. Don't worry at all. It didn't happen yesterday because my health was mera tabit na theek nahi. It was not fine. That is why. Clear? So tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I should see all of you fatafat coming for the next current topics in news for UPSC CSE 2022. This early morning sessions are really a brainstorming sessions to make sure that you are on the right track or spirit. So have a happy morning, have a great day, and I should see every others also coming for the class. And exclusively for my 6 a.m. YouTube, guys, I'm going to create a WhatsApp group exclusively only for the 6 a.m. regular learners. Not everybody is going to be entertained, guys. Only the 6 a.m. regular learners will be entertained. Clear? because as PK said, all the notes, the PPTs will be shared to you. You can just go through. I think 9 to 10 PPTs have to be shared. The PDF of that will be shared to you there and also the Telegram channel. So make sure that you're utilizing it. So I think Soham, Deva, Sabkuch, what you all guys do is just mail to me your IDs and other stuff. I'll just add you in the group. Clear? Only the regular learners. Or via Telegram also. Yes, Ram, Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC is my Telegram thing. Go to Google, type Nisha Nujumudeen Telegram, you get my link. And today 6 p.m. you have the UPSC level MCQ class. This one is there. The regular 6 p.m. Every 6 p.m. you have this. There also I'll pin the Telegram link. Via that also you can join. But exclusively for the 6 a.m. morning class, there'll be a session put forward. There'll be a group put forward. So at least the regular learners don't miss out. Of course, the ones who was recorded, I, do give importance. But then the ones who come live, early morning, waking up from your sleep and coming is not a joke. That shows the confidence, the kind of motivation that you have to grow more. That's why I keep saying early bird catches the worm. So does you in catching what? The so-called IAS or IPS or IFS, whatever that you want to uphold in yourself. Clear? Perfect. So yes, how was the session, guys? Election Commission of India. Is it really fair and transparent as it appears? Was it brainstorming for you in the morning? Morning, Thursday morning. Was it brainstorming, all of you? It should be indeed. Perfect. So yes, chalo. I'll see you all for the 6 p.m. evening class in the Unacademy free platform and tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. with another interesting session. So do catch me live in the same YouTube channel tomorrow at 6 a.m. guys. Any doubts, queries, whatever you have, feel free to put them in the comment box as well. So thank you so much. Have a great morning, happy morning and happy start of the day. Jai Hind.